Hi folks, welcome to Greg's Workshop. I'm Greg, and today we're going to be building an outfeed table, workbench kind of thing for the table saw. Here's a sneak preview of what we're building. This is the final product. Looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. Let me show you how I built it. Any good project starts with the miter saw. Make your measurements, mark a line across nice and square, make sure the vacuum's turned on, and cut. Alright, so I have all my pieces cut to length. These are going to be the stretchers. This is a cross piece, obviously. So what I'm going to do is kind of take off this little rounded bullnose edge on the top so that when I put shelf on top of it, it's going to be nice and flush. We'll do that on the table saw. So we're going to start the assembly by assembling the side rail to the legs. So these will be the vertical parts. This will go across here. There'll be another one on the other side. Shelf will run across here. Build another shelf on top. I was going to get all fancy and I was going to dado out this part right here so that it lay flush and it was bearing the load that way, but I can't find the throat plate that I bought for my saw. I have a dado stack. I have a throat plate somewhere. It's a small shop. I don't know where I would have put it, but it's not here. So just be driving screws. Two things I want this workbench to be: portable and levelable. So what I got these leveling feet off Amazon, nothing special. It just screws out. You can adjust the four corners. Looks like it's got pretty close to 2 inches of adjustment in each corner, which should be fine. This floor is really uneven, but I don't think it's quite that uneven. So that's going to go on here. It'll be on each end. Screws driven in there. And then to be able to move it, I got these retractable casters from Rockler. I had to cut little blocks to fit under there because they need to be up a little bit higher, but basically when they're down like that, the casters will lift the table up off the ground, and then when we put it up, the casters will retract and we can set it down. Also, these casters are removable, so there's a bracket right there and slide the caster out. I think it's a pretty good deal. A little bit of a conundrum here. If I was just going to screw these directly on, I would use the screws that came with it, these little panhead kind of coarse thread screws. Problem is, the brackets, I want to be able to remove these so I don't trip over them all the time. Brackets have much larger heads, or much larger holes for this flathead screw. Goes in about like that. Except it's a machine screw, it's not a wood screw. This is obviously too thick to put a nut on the back side. So what I'm going to try, see if it works. I'm going to drill a hole a little bit smaller than the root diameter of this machine screw, and then drive the machine screw into the wood. It might work. If it doesn't, I'll replace it with wood screws, but it's worth a shot for now. It saves me a trip to the store. Lastly, we have the leveling feet. It's just going to go on right about like that. It's got this little hook here so it kind of self-aligns, and just some screws into the edges here. All right, check this out. So I wanted to assemble this on a flat level surface, which the floor is absolutely not. So I'm using the workbench Problem is that this finished table is going to be wider than the workbench is wide. So I over in the corner, I've got it on the other corner of the workbench over here. I screwed this 2x4 here to extend it, and then put 2x4s under each of the other corners. Going to be 3 cross pieces on the bottom, 1 on each end, 1 in the middle. Yeah, get it put together. So I'm being real careful here when I clamp to make sure that this is nice and flush for when the shelf goes on. Now that it's clamped, I need to get my square, check it for square, which actually looks pretty good. So throw a couple screws in. Now that I have that first screw in, I need to recheck for square. I pulled the clamp so that I have a little bit of adjustability, otherwise it would just stay in one place. And looking pretty good right there. Just carry on around the other 4 corners. No, other 3 corners. 4 total, 3. Anyway. For the shelf, I'm going to use OSB. No, not exactly. This is the LP Smart side. This is a leftover siding from the shed project. So instead of paying $100 for a couple sheets of plywood, I might as well use this. These shelves aren't going to take a huge load. The tabletop will be probably MDF, which I also already have, but might as well use scrap when you got it, right? Boy, I love a track saw. Let's get it put in and see how it fits. Now it should be pretty tight if everything went correctly. Oh, it's beautiful. Looking good. Looking good. We'll get that tacked down with some brads. Having just tacked this down, it occurs to me that I forgot to put a brace across the middle here. My fault. I can fix it. Whew, almost fell. So I have this set down pretty much where it's going to live. I've got 8 feet of clearance behind the blade that way, 8 feet of clearance in front of the blade that way, if I want to rip full length stock or sheet goods or whatever. So what I need to do now before I put on the next level is I need to level this. When you have a 4-corner leveling job like this, if you put the level straight or crossways, it makes it really difficult because you're just having to make multiple adjustments for one direction. So take your level, put it diagonally. Looks like the bubble needs to come up on this side. So all these are retracted, so we're going to be extending to get level. We'll just turn that a little more until that bubble is nice and centered in that level. A little more. Looks pretty good. Switch it the other direction so that it's in a straight line between the 2 corners. Looks like we need to come up on this side. Right about there. All right, put on the next layer. I forgot to hit record before I put in those stretchers, those long pieces. It's your standard, 2-screw kind of thing. So here's some video of me putting in the cross pieces, one at each, well, one at one end and one near the other end, at least between the other two uprights. Similar to the bottom, I screwed these to the uprights here. Out on the end, it's kind of floating, so I'm going to use pocket screws. I'm going to get it kind of wedged in there to start. And I want to make sure that height doesn't change and the thing doesn't move. So we're going to take our squeeze clamps here. Since these are the same, boards are the same height, if I do that, it's not going to be able to shift up or down. Same on this side. Put it in just a little bit. That should hold it in place. Battery was getting low, so I didn't record my cutting and installing this. You know how that goes. So, middle section is in, or middle platform, I should say. This is about 24 inches off the floor, maybe a little bit more. So the next step is to take the saw, mount it over here, and then build the outfeed slash assembly table. It's a little bit taller than I'm used to. We're probably a good 40 inches off the floor here. I think that'll be all right. I won't have to bend over as much to feed stuff through, I guess. I don't know. I thought I designed it a little bit shorter, but obviously I was wrong. So I think this will work just fine. All right, next thing to do is to get this squared up, get it the proper distance from that end over there, and then, well, work on all the details. So it's square to the table to about a 32nd of an inch, close enough. Good news is that I can reuse the same hardware, just through bolt through here. Just need to drill my holes and get it bolted up. And what details do I need to take care of? First off, dust collection. You may notice that I have 4-inch dust collection now. I got a new dust extractor, or dust collector rather. It's a pretty good unit. I'm really happy with it. 650 CFM. I'll do a video on it later. But I want to make sure that I still have my blade guard extraction. That plugs in a little bit loose. I'll probably tape that up because I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Got this piece here to mount on the edge so that I can plug the dust extractor straight into there. And then the hose to connect the two. So get that put on, get it cut, get it put on the other end. Now before I mount that down, I want to make sure the blade can still tilt, because that'll change the angle and change the length of the hose. Make sure that'll work just fine, well, except for that part. Yeah, that'll work. All right, get her screwed down. Hi, buddy.
Hi, Dad.
How you doing?
This is a lollipop holder.
A lollipop holder?
And this is a watermelon plate with a
Whoa!
lollipop. You can have a nice lid of it.
That is so cool, buddy.
You can have a taste of it.
Okay,
A lid or something.
okay, thank you. Whoa. Mmm. That watermelon?
Yeah?
It's yummy. Thank you, buddy.
What are you doing?
I'm building this table. So it's going to hold it holds my table saw. And then I'm going to build another smaller table right here. And that way, when I put things through the table saw, they'll come out and they'll have a place to land. And then I'll have a place to like work and do things too.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Good.
Good.
I'm just gonna up here and put my top.
I think that's a good place to stop for this episode. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to get notified of new videos every other week, give or take. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week for part 2 on Greg's Workshop.